Everybody please stand for the flag salute. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States Republic, for which is one nation. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor. Board of Commissioners, public meeting Tuesday, August 16, 2016. The time is 7:38. Pursuant to the requirements of the Open Public Meeting Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, notice of this meeting was published in the December 24, 2015 issues of the Nutley Sun, the Star Ledger, and the Herald News. A copy of this notice has been posted on the Nutley Town Hall Bulletin Board, and a copy is on file in the Municipal Clerk's office. Commissioner Rogers.
Here.
Commissioner Evans.
Here.
Mayor Scarpelli.
Here.
All present, Mayor, except for Commissioner Tucci and Commissioner Petracco. They are absent excused this evening.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Welcome, Mayor.
Commissioner Petracco called me tonight, and he apologized that he could not be here tonight to read this proclamation. He asked me if I would do it, and I was very honored to do it on his behalf. And it is for Mr. Giulio Baldi. Mr. Baldi, just stand for a second. I want everybody to give you a hand right now. And I'm going to read this proclamation which outlines some of Mr. Baldi's accomplishments over the last 75 years. Whereas Giulio Baldi, born on June 17, 1921, and lived for many years in the ironbound section of Newark, moving to Nutley in 1950 with his wife Joan and daughter Anita. And whereas Giulio has become a scout at 15, started his own Boy Scout troop in 1942, Troop 102, and for 75 years taught young scouts survival skills as well as the importance of civic engagement. And whereas in the course of his tenure as a scoutmaster, more than 1,000 scouts have been part of the Troop 102, with 43 achieving the very prestigious and highly recognized Eagle Scout level of scouting. And whereas a scout leader, Giulio attended 5 national jamborees, and in recognition of his dedication to scouting, received the highest award bestowed on a scout leader, the Silver Beaver Award in 1962. And whereas in addition to the years dedicated to scouting, Giulio was also a proud member of the Nutley Emergency Rescue Squad, serving as a member for 15 years and as associate member for 38 years. And now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Commissioners, Township of Nutley, County of Essex, State of New Jersey, that Giulio Baldi be recognized for his extraordinary service and dedication to guiding over 1,000 young scouts over the past 75 years. Mr. Baldi personifies the true meaning of volunteerism. Congratulations. I'm going to let the commissioners say a few words before we bring up Mr. Baldi for some pictures. Commissioner Evans?
Mr. Baldi, thank you for your service. As I was listening to the mayor walk through your accomplishments, it is truly remarkable when an individual can invest the majority of their adult life investing in the future of young boys, and today across a large group of spectrum of boys and girls, to help them understand civic responsibility, help them understand leadership and what it means to be a member of a contributing society. I want to thank you for that, because my son's an Eagle Scout, and I appreciate all that you do to help all Scouts, as well as your dedication to the Nutley Emergency. You're quite an outstanding individual, and I'm very proud to say thank you and vote yes.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Rogers.
Mr. Baldy, you're no doubt one of this nation's unsung heroes. And I don't use that word hero lightly. I use it when we see individuals like yourself who have no doubt impacted the lives of thousands and thousands of young men through scouting. They will live for the rest of their lives with the positive contribution that you have given to them. So will this town. So I thank you, and God bless you for your service to this town and to this country.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Commissioner.
Mayor.
Baldy, just going to reiterate some of the things that my colleagues have said, but your dedication over many years to invest your time for the good of these young boys to become outstanding citizens and men in our community, and for also your dedication to the First Aid Squad. It's to be commended. You are truly a Nutley treasure, and we thank you for all your time and service to our community. So with that, we're going to have a little presentation, okay?
Say something or not?
Yeah.
Here, you can face it.
Mr. Baldy, the floor is yours.
That's right. That's it. Face them. That's great.
My daughter and I wish to thank Nutley Township commissioners for their thought for this reward. When I joined scouting, try to be a better boy, maybe better man. I have here 4 of my Eagle Scouts, 2 as boys, members of the First Aid Squad. I joined because I wanted to give something back to the town I lived in. I remember being at St. Mary's when in those days we didn't have fancy uniforms. We had the white coveralls, jumpsuit. Stood in the sidewalks trying to recruit people. Man comes up to me, asking questions. Yeah, why do you do this? You have family? Yes, I have a house, support, a family to support. My job, back to the town. Mark's crazy. Well, being crazy, so it pays off. Give a little, take a little. I'm on a squad. We went around house to house, collecting donations. Took the house, and cut out and says, "Don't need you people. Thank you very much." That evening, while we were trying to get some sleep, we had a call. Who do you think we went to? The house that didn't need any help. Following day, came down to headquarters to present us with a check. Thank yous. We do this, help our fellow people. Helpers. Good man up there gives me life. I will continue for the best I can. God bless you all. Bless the township of Nutley. Bless the squad. I love you.
God bless you, Mr. Baldy. You friends and family and squad members, you're welcome to stay for our meeting. If you would like to leave, we'll give you a couple minutes before we continue with our agenda. Thank you all for coming tonight. We really appreciate it. And congratulations again.
Yeah.
Madam Clerk, we're going to go right to the bills, all right? Bills? I'll do him at the end. Remind. Madam Clerk, bills.
Yes, Mayor. Bill list for, excuse me, Tuesday, August 16, 2016. Public Affairs, $105,325.49. Revenue and Finance, $2,297,580.31. Public Safety, $33,184.22. Public Works, $87,275.01. Parks and Public Property, $98,038.33. Total payroll, $797,819.09 for a grand total of $3,419,222.45.
Move the bills.
Second.
Commissioner Rogers?
Aye.
Commissioner Evans?
Aye.
Mayor Scarpelli?
Aye.
That's it for bills, Mayor.
Public comment on agenda items only. Madam Clerk?
Yes, Mayor. All persons addressing the Board of Commissioners regarding community concerns should approach the microphone and provide their name and address for the record. Unless further time is granted by the board, each person shall limit their address to 3 minutes. All remarks to the board and its individual members must be addressed to the mayor. The mayor may defer citizens' comments to the appropriate member of the board. Dialogue between citizens and others addressing the board shall be allowed unless the mayor, presiding officer, or the majority of the membership of the board shall determine that the interest of decorum and or the expeditious conduct of municipal business are being adversely affected by such dialogue.
Would anybody like to address the Board of Commissioners on agenda items only? Seeing none, let's move to ordinance introductions. Commissioner Evans.
Thank you, Mayor. I have one introduction tonight, Ordinance 3348, an ordinance to amend an ordinance codified in the Code of the Township of Nutley, Chapter 272, entitled Construction Code Uniform Fees. I move that this ordinance be passed to a second reading and advertised in the Nutley Sun together with the notice required by law, that further consideration of said ordinance for final passage by the Board of Commissioners be held at its second reading on September 20th, 2016. So move.
Second.
Commissioner Rogers?
Aye.
Commissioner Evans?
Aye.
Mayor Scarpelli?
Aye. Public hearings. Commissioner Evans.
Yes, Mayor. After discussion with council, the ordinances numbers 3343, 3344, and 3345 will be tabled to our next meeting. And I will, if with your permission, I'll proceed to ordinances.
1 second, Commissioner. What's the date of our next meeting?
September 20th.
September 20th.
Just want to put that on the record.
Yep, that's fine. Next meeting on September 20th. Your permission, Mayor, I'll move to...
6th.
September 6th.
Oh, yes, the public hearing. I'll move on to ordinance number 3346.
Go ahead.
This is an ordinance which we have public hearing on tonight. It specifically relates to the medical school property known as Phase 1 of the Roche redevelopment site. This particular ordinance establishes the what they call the financial agreement, and which is in effect a taxing agreement, which is a payment in lieu of taxes given the exempt status of the entity as an urban renewal entity. So we need to have a specific ordinance in place to establish a financing agreement to ensure that we obtain taxes for the benefit of the Nutley taxpayers.
Open the public hearing. Any residents want to be heard on ordinance number 3346?
Penny Landry, 135 Lakeside Drive. Page 3, ordinance 3346. Before I read this, are these documents available on nutleynj.org?
No, they're not.
They are not. Thank you. Section 2, approval of exemption from taxation. An exemption from taxation as set forth in the application is hereby approved and granted to the entity with respect to the improvements for the Phase 1 project in accordance with the terms set forth in the financial agreement, provided that in no event shall the term of the financial agreement exceed the earlier of 35 years from the date of execution thereof, or to the extent permitted by the LTTE law, 30 years from the entity's receive of a certificate of occupancy as defined in the financial agreement for the Phase 1 project, and only so long as the entity remains subject to and in compliance with the financial agreement and the LTTE law and any other agreement related to the Phase 1 project or the Phase 1 premises, and provided further that in no event shall the resulting property tax obligation in each year the property tax exemption is in effect, when combined with the annual service charge as defined in the financial agreement, be less than the amount of the land taxes as defined in the financial agreement prior to redevelopment. A few questions. This ordinance, which is to be considered tonight, am I correct in reading that the $346,000 payment in lieu of taxes, is that correct? It's 300 and, what's the number, Commissioner Emmons?
372,000 roughly, plus the land taxes. Total payment is 516.
Okay, so this $516,000 for taxation on the land and on the buildings, which the tax assessment is approximately $12 million. I asked at the last meeting, you didn't have the number.
Yeah.
What is the tax assessment?
About that, I don't have that in front of me to give you an exact number, but it's the Nutley share of the value of that building, which our share is 37%, which is about $12 million.
$12 million will generate to the citizens of Nutley $516,000, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that $516,000 is a set number for how many years?
It is a fixed number, and it is adjusted every 5 years by 5%, but based upon the long-term tax exemption, the LTT law, long-term tax exemption law, it can go for as long as 35 years, but it will be constrained to 30 years given the bonds that will be in place that will be issued as well.
Okay,
it's a
because
30-year exemption.
Okay, the 30-year exemption. So when does this start? In 2016, or it says certificate of occupancy?
Once the medical school occupies the building and it's substantially, in effect, substantially complete, they will have the right to, in effect, authorize the start of this agreement. Until then, they pay full ad valorem tax.
Okay, so until until Hackensack, what are we calling that? HUSMC, what is the official name?
Well, medical school.
Okay.
Full medical school.
So the medical school. Once the medical school moves into the building, this $516,000 agreement will start, correct? And when do we anticipate them moving in?
They have a timeline that's sometime between, I would gauge it since the school has to be up and running by September of 2018, sometime between now and, actually once they execute all the agreements and we do the closings, sometime between the closing and 2018, they're going to occupy the building.
And when do you anticipate closing?
That's scheduled to be by September 30th of this year.
So September 30th, 2016, they will close.
Could be sooner, could be a couple days after, but roughly.
And then occupancy is expected for 2018.
Yeah, in the meantime, they have to do renovations on the property, so there will be construction on the property inside the building to do interior renovations, which will take some time.
Okay, so when they sign between now, a month, September 2016 until occupancy, that they're going to be paying the regular tax rate. And what is that?
The full ad valorem tax on that property for 2016 is $554,000. The difference between the 516 and the 554 is the amount that would actually be paid to the county, which will not be paid. So the Nutley residents will keep 100% share of the taxes that we would normally keep.
Okay. Well, you say Nutley residents, but as you said before, that's divided between library, green space, schools, and municipal, correct?
Of course, that total amount has always been, just like the ad valorem tax is divided, but all of that contributes to our taxes, correct?
So if the normal ad valorem tax was $550 and the payment in lieu of taxes is $516, why didn't we just keep it at $560? It's not that big of a break for them to do a payment in lieu of taxes.
I'm sure the parties on the other side would have preferred a lower number, but we didn't do that. We're negotiating on the basis that while this is, in the normal course, a property that could be exempt from taxes, and that there was a significant overall benefit to the state to have a place where doctors can be crafted, and that it would have a broader beneficial impact on Nutley, that we did not anticipate the ability to reduce our taxes on that property. So in order to do that, we went through a series of very significant negotiations to come to the amount that you and I have been discussing.
Okay, so just so I'm clear, let's say next year, Nutley citizens' property taxes go up 3%, okay? And then maybe the next year they go up 2%.
Don't quote me on that.
I won't quote you on that. So maybe, we don't have this same tax freeze in place.
That's correct.
That this is frozen at
Correct.
5%, correct? But,
Actually,
but Nutley homeowners, it could, over the next 5 years,
Correct.
increase
The
whatever.
difference between...
And could you explain to me the reason why we have chosen to give such a great deal for these two buildings when we don't have the same kind of caps in place for the 8,000 plus homeowners here in Nutley?
So if you were to back up, right, and you start from the premise that an academic facility,
A nonprofit.
nonprofit academic facility, is normally exempt from tax, right? For Nutley's case, we're having a medical school that is not exempt from paying. It's not paying the ad valorem tax. It's not subject to.
No, you said they were paying the ad valorem tax.
Once we're talking about the agreement, you were talking about the freeze. Until the agreement takes effect, they're paying ad valorem tax like everybody else.
Who is they? Because
Medical school. There's only one thing we're talking about.
you
Is the
said
medical
they
school.
haven't signed. They've bought. The medical school has purchased,
As leased.
leased that property.
Correct.
And so the lessor is who?
Prism.
Okay, so Prism is paying the ad valorem tax right now to Nutley.
Oh, the venture is.
The what?
The venture is.
What's the venture?
Joint venture is the medical school.
Okay, so Prism and it's the leasee. And
Ms.
it's
Landry, you're kind of confusing a timeline here, and I think that's what's confusing to me personally. I think what Commissioner Evans said is that up until the time that they occupy the building, the medical school, they will be paying ad valorem taxes.
okay.
They will not be paying that until that turns over, whenever the close of the deal is. Until that time, and Commissioner Evans, you can correct me,
Roche
Roche
pays.
will be paying.
Correct.
Okay, I'm just, trying to figure out.
You kind of jump from time to time, and
Right.
I just
okay,
wanted to
sorry. We have
try
a
to
huge
straighten that out.
rateable issue or loss of rateable issue in this town, and I met with several people today. There's very much a concern about how are we going to make up these ratables given the timeline that's currently for the overall property redevelopment, because right now
Well, we're not talking about the overall property.
No,
We're
I
talking
know.
about one section of the property,
And
that's
what if-
Project 1. And, in the opinion of this board, the medical school being on that property is advantageous to the whole campus being redeveloped. We
Now, I
believe.
agree. I'm just looking at, as we're speaking about a timeline for redevelopment of the rest of it to make up the difference in this rateable. If the school is not going to be operational till 2018, okay, that's
Mayor, may I step in for 1 second?
Yeah.
There's a lot of other things that are going to occur between now and 2018. So-
Okay.
And these agreements, although they may seem simple, they are not. They are complicated. There are other issues that come out regarding if they rent out tenant space in the building to a nonprofit, we would get taxed from that. There are other things that are going to occur.
If they did what, sir?
Not all of the school is going to be used as the medical school.
You said if they leased out to a nonprofit? Is that what you
Maybe I'll
said?
bundle it.
Want to clear that up?
But I'll do it. So, Ms. Landry, I understand your question. In order to address what you stated as your very broad question was, when Roche was operating there was a certain amount of tax being paid. Now that they're not, right, we're in a different taxing structure, so there's obviously a loss of taxes, right, associated with that in the interim. There may not be at the end, but in the interim, there's a loss of taxes.
And so far, the interim is how long? We're going on 3 years now?
Well, when you think about the whole property, it's actually longer than that.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so we're talking about there's 2 phases to this. Phase 1 is simply 10.98 acres on the Nutley side that houses what is commonly known as a medical school that also has a research facility.
And that property you just spoke about will generate in tax revenue for the 5 areas $516,000.
Right, for the existing building and the land.
And the 10 acres,
There will be additional taxes that we will get when that additional land is redeveloped.
I know, and that's my question, the when part of it. I mean, I
Thank you.
know that's
I don't have a
an
crystal ball on
unknown.
that. I don't have a crystal ball on that, but once the school is established, which is right now everybody's working on getting it established, there is an expectation that they will have a need to further expand within the footprint of that 10.98 acres. What we've done is we've ensured that for Nutley taxpayers, as it exists today, a building with a bunch of land that pays on today's $2016 to $500. It will pay full ad valorem tax, but once the agreement is activated, it will pay $516,000
For the years 2017, 18, 19, 20, and 21.
Yeah, if the timeline is that they activate in 17, yes. If it slips a
So
year,
for 5 years, the most that we can anticipate from those 10 acres and 2 buildings is $516,000.
based upon what we know, we do not know how it's going to expand, right? Those are the plans of the people that are on that site. 5 years from now, that number gets adjusted
By 5%.
5%.
So you add 5% to 516,000.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
Right.
Even though
So-
other
no, exactly.
factors.
No, exactly. So when you look at it, you say, well, yeah, it's important and it's very valuable to the town, but it's not perfect because we are dealing with a situation of a medical school that has a wonderful branding opportunity. It has the ability to hopefully build out the property faster than what the Perkman-Eastman report said, because if you remember those, we were looking at plus 18 years, right?
Right,
So back to the beginning, but we're now talking about the ability to accelerate with valuable uses on the property.
Well, I have a question for you because you said the hospital has the ability to build out the rest of the property. You're talking about the 8 acres?
Yes,
How much can be built on 8 acres? I mean, really?
quite a bit.
Okay, what, dorms?
Well, the 2 buildings that are there, they're on 2.3 acres.
Right, so
it's
there's
a
8
500
extra acres
it's almost
that are being
500,000.
that are being leased by the medical school, which you just said they have the ability
So
to
for
build.
today, they need that surface, that ground level surface for parking. Because there's going to be doctors, there's going to be students, administrators,
I thought the
researchers.
parking was on the Clifton side.
There will be in their plans ultimately to buid a parking deck. But before you get the deck, you got to have some place to park, right? So in the short term, it's parking.
And where will all these people who are going to this parking lot, where will they enter into the campus?
I think we're way off topic on the financing agreement. You're asking a lot of broad questions, which is actually not part of this public hearing. I've been accommodating it.
Okay.
But now you're talking about wanting detailed understanding about what the whole complex is going to be, and you're getting
I was
ahead of
just
us.
looking at
You're
the,
just getting ahead of us, that's all.
yeah, I'm just looking at the area that is relating to this public hearing,
So,
which
so
is
in the interim, they're going to go through the gate that's there, and they're going to make a right turn.
on Kingsland.
In Kingsland, they're going to, actually, the acreage is right there, going to pull into the parking lot.
Okay, all right. When you guys pass this tonight, which obviously you are going to vote to move forward, where does it now go? To this September date where the medical school says,
This ordinance,
yes, we will take this tax,
Right.
whatever,
This ordinance-
exemption from
correct.
taxation?
This ordinance basically does 2 major things. One, under law, it accepts the fact that this has allowable tax exemption under law. Second, it authorizes the execution of a financing agreement that will secure the taxes that we've been talking about, and it authorizes the mayor and town clerk and the attorney to execute that agreement with the parties when they're able to execute that agreement. And I don't have a date to say they're going to execute on this date, but sometime in the very near future, that agreement will be fully executed by the parties involved.
Okay. Thank you very much. I would like to make a request that once this ordinance is adopted, that it be uploaded to the nutley.newjersey.org website so that all the citizens and taxpayers have the opportunity to read it at their leisure. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Landry. Anybody else want to address ordinance number 3346? Seeing none, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Move it.
Second.
Commissioner Rogers?
Aye.
Commissioner Evans?
Aye.
Mayor Scarpelli?
Aye.
Move the ordinance.
Second.
Commissioner Rogers?
Aye.
Commissioner Evans?
Aye.
Mayor Scarpelli?
Aye. Commissioner?
Okay, we have an additional ordinance, which this is the ordinance that has included in it the provisions for a special assessment. Special assessment is linked to the authorization to issue redevelopment bonds in the amount of $1 million. These bonds are known as non-callable, non-recourse bonds, which means once issued, they can't be called early. They have to go to maturity, and once, as well as being non-recourse, that they're secured by the assets of the venture and the payment stream, and there's no recourse to the township at all to make payment on these bonds. The issuance of the bonds, and in the simplest sense, is necessary. So it's the lowest amount possible that could be issued, which will allow us to activate the taxing agreement and secures and making sure that the taxes will be paid for 30 years. So it's an ordinance that allows that, basically puts on the books authorizing that to happen.
Commissioner, I just wanted to be clear, this is not a bond ordinance.
No.
This is an ordinance to create a mechanism
Correct.
to bond it at a future time.
That's exactly right.
So I'll open up the public hearing. Does anybody want to be heard on ordinance number 3347? Seeing none?
Close the public hearing.
Second.
Commissioner Rogers?
Aye.
Commissioner Evans?
Aye.
Mayor Scarpelli?
Aye.
Move the ordinance.
Second.
Commissioner Rogers?
Aye.
Commissioner Evans?
Aye.
Mayor Scarpelli?
Aye. Commissioner Rogers, will you read Commissioner Tucci's resolutions?
Yes, Mayor. Resolution number 204-16, whereas the Department of Parks and Public Property has a need to acquire specialized and professional architectural services through a non-fair and open contract pursuant to the provisions of NJSA 1944A24 or 20.5 as appropriate for construction of a new press box at Owens Field. And whereas the anticipated term of this contract is for 12 months from the date of the contract award, whereas Dassa Haynes Architectural Group, LLC, 16 Portland Place, Montclair, New Jersey, has submitted a proposal indicating they will provide such services for the sum not to exceed $8,750. Whereas Dassa Haynes Architectural Group has completed and submitted a business entity disclosure certification, which certifies that said corporation has not made any reportable disqualifying contributions to a political or candidate committee in the Township of Nutley in the previous 1 year, and that the contract will prohibit Dassa Haynes Architectural Group from making any reportable contributions through the term of the contract. And whereas funds are available from Capital Ordinance 3323K in the amount of $8,750 and have been certified by the Chief Financial Officer, said certain being attached to this resolution. And now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Commissioners of the Township of Nutley enter into a contract with Dassa Haynes Architectural Group, LLC, as described herein, and be it further resolved that the business disclosure entity certification and determination of value be placed on file with this resolution. So moved.
Second.
Second.
Commissioner Rogers?
Aye.
Commissioner Evans?
Aye.
Mayor Scarpelli?
Aye.
Resolution 205-16, whereas NJSA 40A4-87 provides that the Director of the Division of Local Government Services may approve the insertion of any special item in the budget or any county or municipality when such item shall have been made available by law and the amount thereof was not determined at the time of the adoption of the budget, and whereas said director may also approve the insertion of any item of the appropriation of equal amount. Section 1. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Commissioners of the Township of Nutley, County of Essex, New Jersey, hereby request the Director of the Division of Local Government Services to approve the insertion of an item of revenue in the budget of the year 2016 in the sum of $25,000, which item is now available as a revenue from the Community Stewardship Incentive Program grant pursuant to the provisions of statute. Section 2. Be it further resolved that a like sum of $25,000 be and same is hereby appropriated under the caption of General Appropriations, Operations Excluded from 5% Caps, Grant, Community Stewardship, $25,000. Section 3, be it further resolved that the above is the result of revenues available from the Community Stewardship Incentive Program Grant. Be it further resolved that the municipal matching share of the Community Stewardship Incentive Program Grant in the amount of $2,500 is included in the 2016 adopted budget and is hereby appropriated for said purpose. So moved.
Need a second? Commissioner Rogers?
Aye.
Commissioner Evans?
Aye.
Mayor Scarpelli?
Aye.
That's it, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Commissioner Evans?
Thank you. Council, with your permission, these resolutions are quite long. I'd like to paraphrase.
Absolutely.
20616, this is a resolution authorizing the issuance of non-recourse redevelopment area bonds of the Township of Nutley in an aggregate principal amount not to $1 million. The resolution basically documents our determination to issue bonds in the amount of not to exceed $1 million pursuant to redevelopment bond law. 2, these are limited obligation bonds, therefore they, consistent with what we've said earlier, non-recourse, non-callable bonds. And 3, it authorizes the mayor that at such time there is a need to issue these bonds to execute that accordingly so that we comply with related laws and commitments. So move.
Second.
Commissioner Rogers?
Aye.
Commissioner Evans?
Aye.
Mayor Scarpelli?
Aye.
The second resolution is a resolution authorizing the execution of a non-condemnation agreement between the Township of Nutley and Hoffman LaRoche. The origin of this resolution goes back to the actions taken by the board originally to declare the property in need of redevelopment, which is commonly referred to as a blight declaration. At that time, this board made that declaration with a provision of condemnation, which ultimately was objected to by Hoffman LaRoche. Through an agreement, since we cannot have an objection to the blight declaration in order to actually issue redevelopment area bonds and conclude the transaction, negotiations were agreed that the condemnation clause will not apply to areas that are subject to remediation, because the thought of the municipality condemning contaminated property, which is something I think we will agree on, we probably wouldn't do. But if we did that, that would restrict Hoffman LaRoche's access to the property, and therefore they would not be able to complete the cleanup. So basically the resolution resolves a technical issue that would, if in the event something we were to condemn, Hoffman LaRoche would have continued access to the property in order to complete the environmental cleanup. I would also make it very clear that there has not been any discussion by the board on the matter of condemnation. It's just a provision that's out there, and if the event at some future date it becomes important for us to address it, we will, but to date it has been completely unnecessary. This resolution authorizes the mayor to execute a non-condemnation agreement with Hoffman LaRoche in order to establish the fact that the environmental areas that are known as environmental declaration would not be condemned. So move.
Second.
Commissioner Rogers?
Aye.
Commissioner Evans?
Aye.
Mayor Scarpelli?
Aye.
Whereas NJSA 11-11-5 authorizes contracting units to establish a cooperative pricing system and to enter into cooperative pricing agreements for its administration. Whereas the County of Bergen, hereafter known as the lead agency, has offered voluntary participation in their cooperative. Whereas on August 16th, the Board of Commissioners of the State of New Jersey duly considered and participation in the cooperative pricing system for the provision and performance of goods and services. Now, therefore, be resolved by the Board of Commissioners of the Township of Nutley that, one, pursuant to the provisions of NJSA 48:11-11-5, the mayor and municipal clerk are hereby authorized to enter into a cooperative pricing agreement with Bergen County Co-op. Bergen County Co-op pricing system shall be responsible for complying with the provisions of local public contracts law. This resolution shall take effect immediately on passage. So move.
Second.
Commissioner Rogers?
Aye.
Commissioner Evans?
Aye.
Mayor Scarpelli?
Aye.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner. Whereas raffle applications have been received from the following organizations: Nutley High School Soccer Booster Club, license number 3316, off-premise 50/50 cash raffle, taking place Monday, November 14, 2016. Rotary Club of Nutley, license number 34-16, on-premise 50/50 cash raffle, held on Friday, October 21st, 2016. Rotary Club of Nutley, license number 3516, on-premise merchandise raffle, to be held on Friday, October 21st, 2016. St. Mary's Catholic Church, license number 3616, on-premise merchandise raffle, to be held on Friday, October 21st, 2016. St. Mary's Catholic Church, license number 37-16, on-premise 50/50 cash raffle, to be held on Friday, October 21st, 2016. Home Sharing, Inc., license number 38-16, bingo, Friday, September 30th, 2016. And Rotary Club of Nutley, license number 39-16, off-premise 50/50 cash raffle, to be held Thursday, November 17, 2016. Whereas the applications have been reviewed and approved by the municipal clerk and the police department, now therefore be resolved by the Board of Commissioners of the Township of Nutley, County of Essex, State of New Jersey, that the aforementioned licenses are approved and the municipal clerk is authorized to issue the license. Move the resolution.
Second.
Commissioner Rogers?
Aye.
Commissioner Evans?
Aye.
Mayor Scarpelli?
Aye. Be resolved by the Board of Commissioners of the Township of Nutley, County of Essex, State of New Jersey, that the Township Clerk is hereby authorized to advertise for sealed bids for the 2016 purchase of curbside recycling bins for the Township of Nutley, to be received on behalf of the Board of Commissioners and Commission Chambers, Township Hall, 1 Kennedy Drive, Nutley, New Jersey, on Wednesday, September 7, 2016, at 3 p.m. prevailing time, which time they will be open and read. I move the resolution.
Second.
Commissioner Rogers?
Aye.
Commissioner Evans?
Aye.
Mayor Scarpelli?
Aye. That concludes the business portion of our meeting. We will open it up to the public. Madam Clerk, please read the notice.
Yes, Mayor. All persons addressing the Board of Commissioners regarding community concerns should approach the microphone and provide their name and address for the record. Unless further time is granted by the Board, each person shall limit their address to 5 minutes. All remarks to the Board and its individual members must be addressed to the Mayor. The Mayor may defer citizens' comments to the appropriate member of the Board. Dialogue between citizens and others addressing the Board shall be allowed unless the Mayor or presiding officer or the majority of the membership of the Board shall determine that the interest of decorum or the expeditious conduct of municipal business or being adversely affected by such dialogue.
Would anybody like to address the Board of Commissioners this evening?
Penny Landry, 135 Lakeside Drive. Mayor Scarpelli had asked at a couple of meetings, and you had said you would take it under advisement. Nutley Code calls for a citizens advisory committee that serves at the favor of the mayor as an auxiliary to support the planning board. Have you made a decision as our mayor to reenact the citizens advisory committee?
Not as of yet.
Not as of yet. Thank you. This will be my eighth request. I'm also going to make my ninth request. The Economic Development Advisory Committee is currently closed. The meetings are closed to the citizens of Nutley, and the minutes are not available. As the chairman of the Economic Development Advisory Committee, Commissioner Evans, have you made a decision to open that committee to the public and make its minutes available, yes or no?
No.
No, you're not going to open it to the public or the businesses of Nutley?
I will take my course of action, and when I do that, you will know it.
You're going to take a course of action?
I execute a course of action, you will know it. Until then, I have not made up my
Well,
mind.
I mean, I'm going to make do you think you'll make it before the next meeting?
Ms. Landry, I've been very respectful and very polite. Keep on pointing this out as if you can change the law. There's not a quorum of this commission body that sits
No,
on
it's just a decision, your decision, and I'm
Exactly
hoping
right.
that I
But
can
you actually
convince
present
you.
it as as if I'm doing something wrong.
No, I do not. I
I'm
present
sharing
it
with
as
you-
a request.
I'm sharing with you my view on the manner in which you asked me that question. And
It is
so
called an
if I am
Economic Development Advisory Committee for
me.
the citizens and businesses of Nutley.
Right.
I am not inferring that anything is wrong. I
I
am
am
requesting.
asking, I would like to finish my statement. Okay? It is an advisory committee so that I can be better informed about what it is that we will talk about as a Board of Commissioners. In addition to the Economic Development Advisory Committee, I speak to residents all the time.
We haven't spoken.
Sorry?
I mean, we haven't spoken. You said you speak to people all the time.
I appreciate your comment. Right? And the simple fact is that when we have a need to go out to the public, this board has always gone out to the public. So
In a public type forum or in a one-on-one type
absolutely,
situation?
in both, actually in both.
Okay.
Small group, large group. Right? We've actually, as you know from the Economic Development Committee, we broadly surveyed 2,500 people, all Nutley residents.
How many years ago with that? And while you brought it up, what exactly has been done?
I appreciate your opinion. I'm not here to argue with you. I'm not here to debate
And
it.
I'm only here to make the
Only
request.
here to tell you that every time you mention that, it makes it sound to me as if you feel as though I'm doing something wrong.
Well, let me clarify for you, sir, respectfully. I know what you're doing is not wrong by law. I am requesting that you do what's right by the citizens of this town and the businesses
And
of
I will
town, and
continue-
open up to a little greater
And Ms.
transparency.
Landry, I will be very clear. I continue to object to your statement as if I am not doing the right thing for the
And I
benefit
just clarified
of those.
that it has nothing to do with right or wrong. It has to do with
It is right.
transparency. So
And-
you're saying, and we can disagree.
And
I
we
have
do. So
the right
I appreciate
to
your
request
comments.
it for the people of this
And you
community.
can continue to request it.
And
I'm
I will
sharing with my view.
continue, and I'm making my ninth request because I am going to help with the flooding efforts in Louisiana.
And I
will not
appreciate
be
that.
here in 2 weeks, so I'm making my ninth request.
Fine, so you
and
can do that.
I just want it noted.
You can make your request as often as you like.
Thank
I want
you.
to verify.
And I just
for
want to
the benefit-
clarify, I don't think you are doing anything wrong.
I want to clarify for the benefit of those that are listening and observing, because we're on video, right, and for the statements that are out there, that the structure of this, when I bring a group of people together for the purpose of getting advice and input, I am reaching out to the citizens of Nutley. I am reaching out to a cross-section of the citizens of Nutley. They may not be the citizens that you want me to reach out to, or you would like me to reach out to others. I reach out to them in that group, and I reach out to them in other settings. And I do that regularly. So the implication that you imply is somehow this is not transparent. And when I'm educating myself to learn how to be a better commissioner, I don't believe that I need to be in a
And
position...
you call not having the minutes of these meetings available
They're not
transparent?
required. There's no minutes that are
But,
required.
no, it's not required, but what are you hiding?
There's nothing to hide.
Ms.
Because there
Landry,
have been no meetings.
I'm making it very clear. There is no requirement for a meeting minutes. There's no requirement to have a quorum of this board. There is, under the law, Open Public Meetings Act, when you mention the minutes, make them available. If I don't produce those minutes, it's because they were not produced. In fact, we called them minutes. They were just basically a summary of discussion points for my benefit.
Well, then why is it then when the minutes were Oprah, they were supplied via Oprah?
Because when I produced them, they were required by law for me to produce them because the simple fact is I had a document, a public document. I no longer have a public document.
So you don't take minutes anymore, so you don't have
I have
to
a good
disclose
memory.
what happened.
I have a very good memory.
Excuse me, Ms.
Okay,
Landry.
all right.
Ms. Landry.
Wait, I just...
I wanna be very clear.
You cannot talk over the commissioner or anyone else. You get in your chance and let the commissioner speak. You and I have been down this road on this particular committee. It is not a public governing board. They are not required to have minutes. They're not required to be in public. We've been through this. Your request has been heard. Apparently, it's not going to be granted at this time. That's all there is to it. You can debate it all you want.
So could we have another economic development advisory group that outside of Commissioner Edmonds? Economic development is a huge part of the future of this community.
Absolutely.
And I would like to see a body that is a community body for the township of Nutley called an economic advisory, whatever you want to call it, that gets input, okay, that the input is then shared. Your committee, okay, spent tax dollars to do a survey. Part of the survey that we paid for
That's not
was,
true.
was a strategic...
Ms. Landry, that is not true. The Board of Commissioners authorized the spending of that money.
Well, I know.
That board did not. Be accurate.
I understand that.
Accurate.
They made a request that the money be spent,
No,
and the
they
request
made a
was
recommendation.
granted. A recommendation.
This commission, through Commissioner Evans, to take the study, and the commissioners voted to do so. That is how it works, and you know
I
that.
have no problem with that. What I have a problem is that part of what we paid for was a strategic plan, which is not developed yet, or at least it may be a document that exists, but the people who paid for it have not had the opportunity
Landry,
to see
you
it.
received a copy.
No, it's not a strategic plan.
Miss Landry, you received a copy of the document generated by the company that the commissioners hired.
But it was
to
not
prepare.
a strategic plan.
Now let me speak. Let me finish, and then you can say what you want. And you were provided a document. You opened it, and you received it. The document created by that company that was retained by the commissioners. That's the only document that exists. If you want to criticize them that they didn't do enough or they didn't go far enough, that's of course you're right. But don't pretend that something hasn't been produced to you.
Well, you didn't hear me.
No, I hear you quite well, Ms.
I
Landry.
know that we got the survey results document, and we got the inventory document. Those of us who took the time to Oprah it got it, because it was not made available to the citizens of Nutley. But the contract, the actual contract stated that part of what this entity was being paid for was a strategic plan. Now, if the contract was amended and we were not apprised of that to say...
Excuse me. You're putting too much emphasis on a strategic plan. In what format? That document actually comprises a strategic plan.
Okay, so here's the next question.
There's no more
Included
questions,
in the
Ms. Landry.
document.
What
Time is
component
up.
of the strategic
Ms.
plan has been
Ms.
implemented?
Landry, your time is up.
Thank you.
And the answer to that is
Anybody else like to be heard by the Board of Commissioners?
I would.
Commissioner?
I would. I want it very clear for the record, right, that this board authorized the work done to make sure we investigated a few things. One was, do we have a full inventory of what our retail commercial space is completed? We surveyed 2,500 residents in town, right, to get their opinions as to where they shop, how much they spend, and so on, to create a level of what was the opportunity in front of us. We did that. We also, in that document, it laid out a series of recommendations and directions that this board has to consider that are long-term in nature. This is not fixed by putting up directional street signs. It's not fixed by saying, I'm going to get an anchor store. This fundamentally links to how do we brand this town? How do we address the things that are going to make Nutley attractive and make sure that we can raise the economic environment in our town? It is very strategic. It is long-term. The Economic Development Advisory Committee has discussed these things. These matters need to be brought forward to the Board of Commissioners. I have invited Commissioner Rogers to be part of those discussions if he so chooses to, because he kindly invited me to some meetings that he was having early on. We have not met. We will continue this, and the things that are most important for us is the determination of what is the lifestyle elements that are important to this town based upon the residents that are in this town today, what we want to aspire to be. What are the cultural drivers that can attract us and brand this town? How do we actually advance the culture and the arts in our community to change the definition of what we mean by commercial and retail space to create that opportunity? They are very long-term, they are very strategic, and I want to make it very clear on the record that this committee of very, very valuable people have not wasted their time. They've been very patient, they've been very thoughtful in providing advice so that we can start to build as we go forward. I want it very clear on the record.
Thank you, Commissioner. Does anybody else want to be heard?
Yes. Mike Lodria, 133 High Street. I want to know, well, I'm going to ask you, the 2,500 people that he's talking about, how were they contacted and how were they picked, the homeowners?
Completely at random, on the streets in Nutley, they were surveyed.
There were
Just walking the streets, or?
There were signs all over town.
Signs all over town. Did you miss them? There were yellow signs all over the town for a full 6 weeks. They were able to do it online. They were able to do it by interviews on the street. Done in a very open form. It actually meets the standard for statistical sampling to go and do that with plus or minus 2% error.
Okay. All right. That's what I want to know. The second thing I want to say is, if you want to help the business owners of this town, and I've mentioned this before, fight to keep the tax burdens as low as possible. And you'll see the homeowners of this town support these local businesses so they don't go out of business in this town. Cap, control, and reduce. That's what you have to do. That's all you have to do. And trust me, I will spend more money in this town. And I'm a homeowner here. And what keeps me from that is that whatever is done in this town by our town leaders, BOE and the BOC, it takes away my expendable cash that could be used to be supporting the local business in this town.
Appreciate your point.
Thank you. Anybody else like to be heard by the Board of Commissioners? Before we adjourn, I would like to recognize Dante Antondola. Dante, will you step out from the back? He's done a great job. This is his last meeting. He's done a great job in filming our meetings. And he's a very professional and mature young man who's going on to school, to college. And I've had the pleasure of witnessing his hard work outside of this chambers. He's been inspecting some of our jobs, working for an engineering firm, Neglia engineering firm, and we appreciate all your hard work over the summer and the hot weather. So, and thank you, Dante, and good luck in your future endeavors.
Thank you. It's been great watching you guys work the past couple of years and get through the whole roach thing, and see it through now that these ordinances are being passed. And I love growing up in Nutley, and I couldn't ask for anything better. And appreciate your support. And I'm definitely going to miss watching these meetings, being around Town Hall.
You've made yourself, your family, your school, and your town very proud. Thank you, Dante.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Commissioner Rogers?
Aye.
Commissioner Evans? Commissioner Evans?
Aye.
Mayor Scarpelli?
Aye. Good night, everybody.
And the time is now 8:42.